Hello everyone, welcome back to Fixing with the Kid. I want to introduce you to my next long-term project. The engine is locked up. The transmission was locked up. The console has rusted loose. There is rust and pitting all over the tractor. Haven't even thought about the starter or anything else. It ran when it was parked. I want you to get a look at the amount of rust in these cylinders. I don't know, we're gonna try. Manifold is off, and that's what I found. And it's just caked. Well, just like you would expect, more rust. Try to get this rocker arm assembly off. This is the rocker arm assembly. Probably one of the worst parts that took a lot of moisture. I don't know if it's going to come back. I'm going to work on it with a wire wheel. See if we can get some life back in it. Okay, as you can see, it's come a long way. I've still got to do a valve job on it and clean up the combustion chambers, but I've gotten a lot of the debris off. Once I pull the valves, I can clean in here a little better. But overall, it's cleaned up. This half is a little bit cleaner than this half. So, I got you under the light. You can see the rust that's on those lifters. I've been working on that a little bit, trying to get it apart. So, there you go. We're still working on it. I'm going to take this to the machine shop and try to get those two broke off studs out and do a valve job on this thing. We'll get a head gasket and try to get this reinstalled on the tractor. Alright, I already pulled the first valve out. I want to pull the second of cylinder number 4. So, got the tool like this. Put it on top of the valve. I'll show you the other side once I get it locked in. On top of the valve keeper. And I'll make sure it's centered up correctly. The other end is on top of the valve. So I'm just going to crank the valve spring down. Alright, I squeezed the compressor and got the two keepers out. They were rusted in there pretty good. They finally popped. I should be able to back this off and get it ready to move on to the next cylinder. So I'm going to do one cylinder at a time. There we go. Got that off. A lot of rust. May have to clean the valve, clean that rust off the valve before I can get it to push through. Put a little bit of blaster on it. Do that a couple of times. Got it out. Alright, there it is. And pretty rusty. I'll get that cleaned up on the wire wheel. I'll show you again how we do that. And then I'll do a valve job, resurface them. They're not terrible. Alright, as I said, I'm doing one cylinder at a time. I've got valve lapping compound on the valve. Okay, I did that a little bit. And I've got me a rag shoved in there that's holding it up. If not, it would drop. This is the intake. That was the exhaust. Back and forth a couple times. Okay, we'll flip it over and see what it looks like. We'll get a good look at them. I want you to see that even ring all the way around. And same thing for the seat. Cleaned up here. Seat is clean, just got a little bit of compound on it. You want to clean all that compound out. One way to check it is put it in, hold it, and see if it spins real easy. This one does not, which means that that valve, let's try the exhaust. You can see that clear line all the way around it. Clean the seat. I'll get some brake cleaner, carb spray, and clean the rest of the lapping compound out, but let's see what that one does. In, and it grips. That's what you want. I tried to clean a lot of the rust off of that. We'll get it spun over. Get the okay. Get this spring back down. Alright, maybe you can see that way a little bit better. Put these keepers in. Get them to drop down like that. The other one to drop in on this side. Like that. Slowly let spring tension off. And that valve is falling out. That's okay. Alright, I'm going to hit it. Let me get my rubber hammer. You can see the difference. Spring I clean, spring I haven't. I'm going to take a rubber hammer and just make sure the keepers are seated. I'll do that to the intake. Do it for the rest of them. And finish cleaning this thing up. I used the opportunity with the springs out to clean all the rust that was in between them. I've got all the rest of them to do. You can see it kind of at an angle. This has not been cleaned. This has been cleaned. All right, we'll keep working. I'll bring you back. This is the number 2 cylinder. And this is the one that I have done. So you can tell there's the number 4 cylinder. The number 3 cylinder was by far the worst. This is the number 1 cylinder. So you can actually see the numbers on the valves. So we'll make the rest of them look like that one. This was the worst valve, as you can tell. I'll clean it up on the wire wheel. I'll show you an after picture. Alright, here's an after shot. Got all the valves lapped in. They were all packed in with rust. I got the rust out. Still a little bit evidence of rust there, but this was the worst cylinder. Okay, I'm going to reinstall the head and the head gasket. Like it says right here, this side out. So, but I'm going to butter both sides of the head gasket with this Permatex Forma gasket sealant. I'm going to do that. I'll get it installed and I'll show you buttering the top and just put a thin layer on the top. Let me get my rubber mallet. Okay, I don't think it hit record whenever I put that on there. I'm just going to snug these up. Whoops, that would have been bad. I'll torque them. Okay, I'll get my torque wrench, we'll torque them down. Okay, I've torqued them all to what I found was 65 foot-pounds, starting in the middle, working my way out. I've got them all torqued to 65 foot-pounds with the Permatex on both sides of the gasket. I'll get the push rods and the lifters, get that reinstalled. Alright everybody, I put the rocker arm assembly and push rods back in. They go together just like they came out. I kept the order that they came out. Freed up the rocker arm assembly. This was all froze up, as you remember. These were all totally rusted. I cleaned them on a wire wheel. So I don't have them adjusted exactly right, the valves, but I've got them adjusted with enough clearance that we can check the compression, and we've got to have at least a bare minimum of 70 per cylinder. Although this thing hasn't run in 30 years, I think we're going to have that much. So let me get you set up here. This is cylinder number 1. Keep an eye on that gauge. All right, keep an eye on the gauge. So that is 90. That is same thing. Looks like 85, 90. Number 1 and number 2. This is number 3. Number 1 and number 2 were both 85 or 90. This is number 3. Number 3 is 75. That was the worst cylinder. I'm hoping once it runs with a little oil in it, I hope it'll come back around. Like I said, it said optimum is between 110 and 125. Bare minimum is 70 to run. I think if we have 3 that are close to 100, it'll carry the other one if it'll come back around. This is number 4. Number 4 is 95, 90, 95. So I think if we can get it to run, that maybe 1, 2, and 4 carry 3 around, and if that ring was stuck from sitting with the water in it, it'll come back around. I cleaned the cylinder the best I could, and we will see what happens. Okay, I'm in the process of pulling the radiator off. The supports, of course, are rotten. The fan shroud is rotten. I got the fan and the spout hose and all off. I've got the 2 bolts out of the bottom. I've got to pull that bottom radiator hose. I can expose this whole front area, vacuum it out, clean it out, pressure wash it, get this front area cleaned up. When I remove the carburetor, this aluminum alloy governor arm broke off along with the rod. This was all froze up, so I'll have to get one of those and keep moving forward. Of course, the alternator is shot. So, what a project. All right, I just took the radiator off. Look at that. Wow. I'm gonna get the shop vac and go to work. Then we'll get it pressure washed. I took the lower radiator output, input, whatever way you look at it, off the bottom of the engine, and it is packed full of old rusty crud. So I got an extension trying to shop vac it out. Keep moving forward. Okay, let me give you an update on the Farmall Super A 1950. I have pulled the tank. I have cleaned on the motor and painted it with a primer. Cleaned out all up front. Flushed out the cooling system. Like I said, remove the gas tank. Remove the battery box. The control and steering arm assembly that bolts there to your right is gone. I'll show you why. And here it is. There's the part that mounts to the tractor, and then the arm holds the steering shaft. Yeah, that one's seen better days. Okay, here it is running with the carburetor off my other Super A, and let's see how it runs.